when I flatlined that second time, other than me being hot and a little panicked at first because I couldn't articulate what was going through my brain, outside of that, it was just a peace. And everything kind of went black for a little bit. And next thing you know, I can see the nurses pulling me into an adjacent room. I'm on a stretcher. They take me off one stretcher into another stretcher, and everything is happening. I see the doctor, and he's working on me, and the nurses are frantic. And in this space, it was like time didn't exist. There was no words. Nothing was being said, but it was like everything was known.
Today's video is brought to you by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. If you've ever been seriously hurt, your injury could be worth millions. Morgan & Morgan doesn't settle for lowball offers. They've achieved some of the largest verdicts in recent months, like $26 million in Florida and $12 million in Philadelphia, far exceeding insurance offers. Their fee is absolutely free unless you win. Morgan & Morgan is committed to fighting for you if you become their client. If you've been in an accident, you're only a few clicks away from potentially changing your life. You can check out www.forthepeople.com/theotherside to submit a claim today. Morgan & Morgan will fight the compensation you deserve if you become their client. And remember, fighting big companies requires a big law firm. Morgan & Morgan is ready to take on insurance companies of any size. You can check out Morgan & Morgan today at www.forthepeople.com/theotherside or click the link in the description below. Don't wait. Take the first step toward protecting your rights.
All right, my name is Chad Osinga, and I think it was last month, June 10th of 2020, I was riding my motorcycle, and I was in a motorcycle club during this period of my life. And so I was with 6 other people, and we're riding down I-95 South here in Virginia, and everything was fine. I was in the far left lane. Beside me, they were actually expanding the interstate, so there was a whole bunch of construction going on at the time, and this minivan, I guess, wasn't paying attention. I think they were just traveling for summer, and they just began to come over into my lane, and I didn't notice it until it was too late. I started to come over to the shoulder of the road as much as I could, and I was met with a T barrier where the construction started, so I couldn't go any further, and that's when the car hit me. The van hit me probably about 60 miles an hour. I flew over the Jersey barrier. My motorcycle hit it so hard it never fell down. It was like implanted into the Jersey barrier. And I flew into this construction zone. The guys that I were with, of course, stopped. They started doing first aid. I had a few military guys with me, so I was pretty excited about that. So they kind of knew what to do with the initial injuries that I had. And on the way to the first hospital, I flatlined the first time. And I don't really remember anything about that aspect. Everything was just black, you know? And they finally transport me to VCU in Richmond, Virginia. And they realize while I'm in the MRI, like there's a whole bunch of stuff that, needs to get done. So they take me into surgery, an emergency surgery. And in that surgery, they realized there was more that needed to be done that the MRI didn't show. So they had to schedule a second surgery. So I get out of that surgery. They give me a few days to heal, and I'm about to go into the second surgery. And right before you go into the surgery, they do like a last vital check and make sure that nothing funky is going on with your body. And that's when the second time I flatline happened, and where really my story begins as far as my out-of-body experience. So as she's asking me these questions, about to put me into surgery for my second emergency surgery, I think that I'm talking to her like I'm speaking right now, very clear, but I'm like slurring my words, and all of a sudden things are really hot for me. I think that most people are terrified of death, right? And because it looks like a scary thing. But when I flatlined that second time, other than me being hot and a little panicked at first because I couldn't articulate what was going through my brain, outside of that, it was just a peace. And everything kind of went black for a little bit. And next thing you know, I can see the nurses pulling me into an adjacent room. I'm on a stretcher. They take me off one stretcher into another stretcher. And I'm looking at it like I'm watching a movie, like front row seats. And everything is happening. I see the doctor, and he's working on me, and the nurses are frantic. And in this space, it was like time didn't exist. There was no words. Nothing was being said, but it was like everything was known. It's really hard to explain when I try to tell people about this, but I was watching this like I'm looking at the screen right now, and I can see everything taking place. And there's just this absolute peace. I became awareness itself. And it was one of the most freeing moments of my life. And really, this moment didn't last as long as a lot of people that leave the body. I wasn't flatlined for a very long time as I was about to go into a surgery. So they revived me fairly quickly. And I remember as I'm looking at all of this take place, it was like slow-mo. When I came back, I guess consciousness within the body, that's when things really, I think, hit home for me. One of the things that I didn't really mention is that prior to this accident, I was a wreck. Okay, I was an alcoholic. I was drinking a fifth of whiskey a night. I was just a dude that was lost. I was a former military guy that had some demons that I was facing, and I didn't know how to overcome those things, and it was destroying me. It was destroying my family and my quality of life. And I had this experience, and that is my experience, is just being awareness. I was literally awareness. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't travel to another universe. I was just existence itself. And when I saw this as a movie and I finally came back, conscious, and I'm awake, I'm in this ICU room, life looked different for me. It's hard to put into words, but something changed, right? Like I met my true self when I flatlined, and I knew that this experience that I was having that we call life is just like that movie that I saw when I came out of my body. This isn't real. This body, this experience that we have on a day-to-day, is very much like a movie. And as awareness, we are watching this movie through a first-person experience that's given to us with this body. And these are some of the things that I just intuitively knew as I was laying in this ICU room. And I went from this guy that was wild, lost, looking for a way out through alcohol and living kind of a wild life, to this sober understanding of what reality really is. And as I laid in that hospital room, I didn't have access. It was during COVID, it was 2020, right? COVID, it was just exploding on the scene. So I didn't have a phone because it got destroyed on the motorcycle. And I'm sitting in this room by myself. And it was the most spiritual moment. 7 days, I think I was in that room by myself, basically. No visitors were allowed, no phone, just myself. And it was one of the most spiritual moments I've ever had in my life. When I came home, I was completely different. I no longer had a taste to drink. I didn't want to do the things that I was doing before. And what was weird is, over the next year, I was learning how to walk. I was having more surgeries because of all the injuries that was taking place in my body, and none of it fazed me. I had just this very peaceful attitude, I guess, with me throughout all of it. And it was like I could see that this wasn't happening actually to me, if that makes sense, right? I just see life a little differently. And as I'm healing up and as I'm pursuing more knowledge, because this experience, it made me wonder more about just spirituality and what was this experience that I had? What was this awareness or this consciousness that I seemed to be when I left my body? And I began to go on this pursuit, and I ran into this book, and it was crazy because there was a Vietnam vet that did an edition of it. And the same thing happened to him, just slightly different conditions. A grenade exploded and he left his body during that moment. And he had the same experience where he was just awareness. He could see everything. Everything was here, but there was no words. You were just everything. It's hard to put it in words. And I don't think that words will ever do what reality is justice. But I stumbled on this book and I began to read it, and it was exactly what I experienced, and it made so much sense. And so over the course of the next year, I just began to pursue more of this knowledge and really trying to understand. It took me about 2 years to fully put the pieces together of what happened to me when I flatlined. When I came conscious in the hospital, I thought that I was wide open, eyes open during, them reviving me. I just thought I was like I am right now in that moment, but I wasn't. I had left my body, and I was able to tell the doctors what took place while they were saving my life. And it was a very powerful moment for me to understand that this life that I'm living is nothing short of just like a video game. And this body's like the VR set that I get to put on every day and experience the greatness that we call the infinite, you know? And so over the course, that really is what told me that I had a powerful experience, because my entire life changed. I no longer wanted to drink. I no longer wanted to be around the same type of individuals. I wanted more. I started meditating and became a vegetarian, like things that I wasn't even thinking before this happened to me. And it happened effortlessly. Like it wasn't something I just set out to do. These changes within me just began to take place. So this out of body experience was almost like I was introduced to who I really was. There was a healing process that took place when I left my body. And when I returned to this body, I was not the same person that was there or that left. And so it was just a really cool experience. And that's one of my main messages to everybody is when this life, we can get lost in it, you know, and the stories and the social initiatives that are out there. But we are beyond all of that. We're not this body. We are truly in like a VR game right now. And it is a very cool experience when you can find who you really are, when you can have an experience that lets you step back from the story and see that you are beyond all of this. It has changed me in so many ways. It's healed relationships in my life. And, you know, all of us have that ability to be whole and to walk in the fullness of who we are, right? It's in us. We are that right now. That is basically my story. I hope that it touched somebody. Thank you for listening. And I hope that this inspired you. And we'll see you later.